Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com. Of course, follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. Every week, we interview a film professional to discuss their work, and this week I'm joined by editor Elizabeth Ronaldsdóttir, whose work includes Deadpool 2, Bullet Train, and more recently, The Fall Guy, just to name a few. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
do, there's one thing I do want to mention. I love in Bullet Train, Tangerine and Lemon. And I'm
Yeah,
hoping that they get a spin-off, but I'm not sure if they will, or like a foundation, because they made the film for me.
yeah, they were a fun couple indeed. Fun brothers.
Now when with the Fall Guy, what was it in the script that attracted you to it?
Well, so many things. For the first, how funny it was. But also I am so proud and delighted to be a part of that love letter to stunts. I've based my whole career on stunts without doing any myself. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. And obviously when the cast also is put on top of the script, you know it's going to be great.
Yeah. Is there something that you usually look for in projects when you're choosing them that you prefer?
Mm, I am super excited about middle budget movies and just blowing them up, but I don't look for certain script points.
Mhm.
I don't look for certain stories. But I am pigeonholed as a stunt editor, so here I am. I'm not satisfied about that. I enjoy doing them, but I love those middle-sized budget movies, and then you just blow them up, which is what we did with John Wick, Atomic Blonde, Kate. Take those small movies, and I love that. Be a part of that.
My friends and I would make little videos in our backyards, imitations of Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Eventually that need to tell stories became more of a technical interest and an interest in the art. To me, what's exciting is using cinema in its full potential, which is rhythm and sound design and music. Our job is to set up expectations and then deliver on them. I'm Brian Cates, and this is my course in film editing.
Well, I'd love to talk to you in the film. There's in the Fall Guy, there's that split scene sequence. And so it's not a stunt scene, but I'm very interested in terms of what was the footage like that came in? Did you have to rework things for timing? Like how did getting that scene together work?
It was a piece of cake because they did shoot them separately, but they would test every single split. So every time they had both sides, we would test it and make
Mhm.
sure it fit. And then, so it wasn't a problem.
Oh no.
And the actors were always there in the same room, even though, so they were talking together, even though we were shooting them separately.
Mhm. When it does come to like stunts, because like you said, you're a bit pigeonholed in stunts. Um, if we're talking about actors, looking at a performance, is it believable? But in terms of stunts, like what do you look for in raw footage for stunts?
Well, it's that the movements are strong. It's the same as with dance. You want strong, defined movements. So that's what you look for. And also, we have a lot of small gadgets we can use to make hits harder and etc. But it's all about the dance of it. Unless you're doing something like driving a car off a cliff, or which is a completely different thing. But physical stunts, when they're fighting physically, that's what you look for.
Yeah.
Same like the strong, continuous movements. Yeah.
So you came out of dance or you were a dancer at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is you know, what did you take from dance that you use now as an editor?
It's the same thing. It's the choreography. They aren't fighting for real. It's all
Yeah.
choreographed by amazing people, may I say, and who know what they're doing. So it's all choreographed. And then you basically try not to F it up, you know,
Mhm.
to
What
keep it in the flow.
because a lot of times now, you know, they will have storyboarded and done mock-ups and everything to the nth degree.
Yeah.
But what happens if, you know, because they've choreographed it so much, like where's the flexibility in it?
Oh,
For
we
you to
always have
present?
a massive flexibility, but I do find it extremely important if we have to shorten, for example, shorten stunts,
Yeah.
which happens mainly because we don't want them to become repetitive. You do it. Yeah, I mean, you do it as any dancing. This is the alpha male dance, even if it's danced by women sometimes. So you do it the same way. And I try as much as I can to be in very good connection with the stunt choreographer, to be in dialogue with that person. So that they also know what's happening and how we're going to fix it or do it. And
Well,
yeah.
it's interesting because I've never heard an editor being in contact with the stunt coordinator. What do you guys just focus mainly on the choreography and how that would work in edit, or how's that?
Yeah, and not necessarily the coordinator, but absolutely the choreographer of
Yeah.
that sequence. Yeah, you would be in good contact with that person. So yeah, I do that. I think it's important because no one does anything alone while
Mhm.
doing a movie. It's all massive collaboration. And you have to, as an editor, especially, well, as anything, you have to respect what everyone else puts on the table. So, no, I try to be in good contact so that if I have questions or if I'm not sure about something or if I need to change it for some reason, that we can have the dialogue. So it's not, yeah.
So when you're getting onto a project, how do you like to approach your first build of the cut?
I love experimenting. I mean, let's face it, assembly is my Achilles heel because I tend to skip that part of this. So it's just, but I also find it extremely important to grab the ideas you get while you're going through the material. So yeah, I do like to experiment from the beginning, but I do it one scene at a time
Mhm.
until I lose my patience and start like putting things together. But it doesn't mean I don't make an assembly. I might just
Mhm.
make it a bit later in the process because I get caught up in playing with the material, which I also find extremely important because the script can be amazing as a script
Mhm.
and extremely helpful. But you have to understand that you're making a movie, not a
Yeah.
script. It's a completely different language that is much more layered than a script is because you have the actors' performances, looks, you have set design around them, you have the costumes. So there's so much that might become redundant in the script because of the visuals.
Mhm.
It's basically where a monologue can even become a look. So you have to experiment with the material because you're translating it. Never lose sight of the story or your director's vision, but
Mhm.
you gotta experiment with it. Yeah.
Is there a particular scene in The Fall Guy that you experimented with that sort of you know, changed the film?
Some of it, I mean, especially in the beginning. Well, there were a couple of places. Mainly to keep the love affair alive, that I did some intercutting. For
Mhm.
example, the trash bin, we intercutted with the bar like really closely. But we did that also in the opening of the movie, mainly to like strengthen strengthen his motivation to go leave his job as a valet and go to Australia to help Jyoti. So yeah, that was then we intercut it, but also because I don't like to tell the same story twice within a scene, like tell the same story twice in a movie. So when he was working as a valet and then having the phone call with Gail where she's telling him he's a valet and he's telling her where he is a valet, I just wanted to intercut it so that we would only tell that story once. But I felt like it would strengthen his motivation to go to Australia. Yeah.
Is there a particular set piece in this film that really stood out for you that you're really proud of the work on?
A set piece?
Yeah, or a large sort of scene that you had to cut?
Oh yeah, there's so many. I do love the trash bin, the car
With the
chase,
dog.
trash bin chase with the dog. I mean, there are so many things. I love the metal storm set and all the Jyoti's movie within our movie, and it was so much layered. There were so many things we had to do. We had a commercial to edit. We had a trailer. We had the movie, and we had the movie within the movie. So it was fun. You were never bored.
Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my career. It gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to jump into a new career.
Getting myself into a mindset, thinking like an editor, and being around people that I can talk to on that level was really invaluable to me.
A lot of the things that I learned from that class, I still think about.
I loved the classroom. I loved the computer stations. We built a sense of community.
And it also instills a lot of confidence in you to take that and go out into the world.
After I took the class, I felt very prepared to take the next step.
I owe Manhattan Workshop the career that I have right now.
Things have been going great, and I really have the Manhattan Workshop to thank for that.
And my wife was on pins and needles when the dog jumped into the bin.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh no, no, no!"
Go there.
She was very worried for the dog for that whole scene.
Oh,
Even when the trash bin goes by the karaoke place, she was just like, "What about the dog?"
Yeah,
So
it's cute.
I guess my last question for you is, what would you say is your favorite guilty pleasure film or TV show to watch?
Oh God, there are so many.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure TV shows. It's like I like Barry.
Oh yeah, Barry's great.
I can't remember the name of all of them, but I watched, what was the name of the police show? 39 something. It's a comedy show.
Not Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Reno 911.
No, it's God, why can't I remember the name of it? I can rewatch, and I mean, like The Office. I watch that on repeat. But the favorite guilty pleasure movie, it's like basically every movie that's ever made. I'll watch anything. But I've been fascinated by both Korean TV shows and movies. I like to watch international movies. There's a lot happening both in Korea, but also just in French, in Russia, always even though I'm boycotting that now, but you know, it's
Korean cinema is phenomenal right now. Like
phenomenal.
The last 10 to 20 years have been just knocking it out of the park.
Mind-blowing. And I mean, they're doing so much fun stuff. But I also like to watch, I love documentaries. I can really get, stoked up by a good documentary. But I also really enjoy watching student films because that's when they're brave and do crazy things. And I love that. So I'm very much into watching and student films and festival films.
Yeah.
Which are sometimes, not always, but are sometimes like a first movie from a director. but I feel that they are braver than the rest of us are most of the time in the storytelling. So it's interesting, and you can learn a lot from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
Well, thank you. I hope you have a great day in Toronto.
Thanks. Well, that's it for our show this week, everyone. Make sure to check us out at filmmakeru.com, of course, on Instagram at filmmaker_u. I'm Gordon Burkell. Thanks for watching.